Hello, and welcome back to Hourglass Season 2, Episode 16. I am recording this live in front of a Twitch studio audience, so this is a first for Zelda. But I realized while I'm getting ready to stream tonight that I forgot to record a before area of the project we're going to work on, so I wanted to bring you guys in really quick and just show you that this tunnel is what my next project is. I have a very long, very long tunnel out to the mining mesa, the mining desert, and our stacking raid farm. It cuts through a soul sand valley and a crimson forest, so I want to get these walls up because we are having ghasts shoot at us. Ouch. And damage the, temporary tunnel that's here now. So, you'll see there's, even a section where the bridge is actually out. So, I've got to make this safer for all of my fellow, server mates so that we can get out and mine at the desert and go to the raid farm in a much more safe fashion, just because it's so open and so exposed to the raw nether here. So, I will, without further ado, I'm hoping that we get the time lapse in, and we will be right back with an update. And a quick editor's note, because that was the first time that I recorded live on stream, I almost forgot to show some important information. I spent some time gathering a lot of blocks, and I'm not even certain that this is going to be enough. So we're keeping a similar design for the main tunnels as the offshoots, and so we've got a gradient that I've got planned, and I'm going to show you guys that I have schematics for it, so I don't have to think too hard about what I'm doing. But the gradient that we're going for here is going to be smooth sandstone, stripped birch, hay bales, yellow terracotta, lime terracotta, and green terracotta. So we've got here almost 2 shulkers. I had a hard time getting hay. It's a very grindy block, but I tried to get about 2 shulkers of each one of the first 3 items. So hopefully this is enough to go all the way down out of render distance. So now we'll be back. And welcome back. I hope that time lapse went well. We tackled a huge section of this tunnel, and I don't exactly know the best way to do a time lapse of a really long area, because the replay recording only stays with the chunks that I'm currently loading. So as we get to one side of the tunnel that we were working on, the other side of the tunnel is no longer loaded. So this'll be interesting when I go to edit that. So I'm sorry if it looks weird. It's because I didn't know what to do. But also we got about halfway down this tunnel, and I did decide to stop kind of arbitrarily. I didn't know exactly where halfway was, but what we decided to do was to at least cover the soul sand side, so that the ghasts would stop shooting into the tunnel and breaking it all apart. So now all I have to do is the end of, it might even be more than half, because now we can't really see back there, but we can see the portal at this end. I'm not exactly sure, but we did just stop. There's still more, and this area could potentially become dangerous depending on where all of the hoglins are if they attack us. So we've got to finish the walls there, and then for those of you guys that remember, we're doing the glass in front. That's like a parallax effect for making skyscrapers. And then this tunnel will be done. So I think all told, this section took solid 2.5 hours roughly, and we went through over a over 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-ish, about 22-ish stacks of the smooth sandstone, but we didn't go through as much of the hay bales. So I only had, other than this box, I only had about like half of another shulker. So I think we might have enough hay bales to actually make this. So I'm going to stick with it and put together the next section of walls down there. Probably not going to time lapse that, just because it might be more me dying and fighting mobs. But real quick, before we do any more of that tunnel, I also wanted to show another part of the tunnel that we'd been working on. And the reason why I'm showing so much of the tunnels this week is because while this month's project, the castle, is being developed, it's actually a couple people on the server, Glorious Wolf and Not Humo, are the ones working on it, and they're working on it in creative at the moment. And I kind of wanted to take a step back from like the planning parts of planning the creative, or like planning the communal areas. So I'm doing some of the grindy, like finishing stuff off this week. So you'll see where the glass ends here. The magenta tunnel used to end, and yeah, it got shot at by a ghast, and I keep forgetting to bring a black one back, a black piece of glass back just to finish that. But it didn't ever go quite as far as our flower forest farm, which is out that way about 300 blocks. And then I believe I showed this at the, I might not have showed how I got through there in the nether last time, but this is out to our new project area. So I have completed the expansion of the magenta all the way from where it used to end, all the way out an additional like hello. We must have had to do a repair. Oh, yeah, see, okay, so everywhere where there's like an intersection, you can tell where there's been ghast, presence, I guess we'll say. So now this tunnel has to turn and go this way out to the new project area. So I haven't dug this one or the flower area out yet, but those are going to be the next two sections that I work on. Potentially, but we have to pick a color palette for them. So before I make the area very unsafe and very exposed to ghasts, I'm just leaving the temporary tunnels the way they are, like a 3x3 all the way down. And then the other area that we've got to do, and then I think we're done with tunnels for now, is this one. This goes out to our snowy ice area that has our snow farm and our huge massive ice farm. And so we do have a color palette picked for this one. So hopefully by the time I bring you back to give one final update on the Mesa Desert Pillager tunnel, I can also introduce you to this tunnel, because this one is significantly shorter. And this is my kind of tunnel. It's a short tunnel. It's early. I'm tired. I shouldn't make silly jokes like that. But we will be right back. And boom! Just like that, a new tunnel has emerged. I hope that transition worked. I thought of it a little bit after the fact. So, yeah, this is the new tunnel out to our ice farm, snow farm, kind of all the snowy biome farms are going to be out there. And it's been open and exposed to magmas for a while now, but I think I really like what we came up with, because the bottom blocks, yes, they look a lot like the white concrete, but they're not. It's actually snow. Hopefully that comes across, that it's slightly different. So it goes snow, then clay, then packed ice. And yes, I had a slight panic attack when I was working on this tunnel. Munch was in here and helping me. I actually worked on this side and Munch worked on that side from the schematic so that we could work on it together. But I panicked a little bit when I put the ice down, or the snow, then the ice, and I was like, ooh, I didn't test either of these if they would melt. I didn't know if they had different block properties in the nether. Thankfully, they don't. Solid snow blocks don't melt. It's only snow layers, and packed ice and blue ice don't melt at certain light levels. It's only regular ice. So I think some of these, if they were regular ice, they might be close enough, but we did use packed ice, so it's a little bit more sturdy, but it's also a little bit darker. It's not as transparent. So the ice farm tunnel is done, and then the other update I've got for you is, again, Munch was able to assist me quite a bunch, and we got the mining mesa desert / stacking raid farm tunnel done. And yes, it's like a million rockets to get there. I should have probably just cut and come back, but I love flying through these. Oh, sugar. Okay, well, it's like 99.999% complete. The corners aren't technically part of either of the schematic because yeah, we designed one tunnel and then we designed the other, and I don't put them together in creative, so just bear with me. But all of the glass for the parallax effect is in, and oh my goodness, this was many more hours, and we don't have a nice finished off background, and that's something that I wanted to look at for the ice biome tunnel too, is I would kind of like to use these big walls as more of like a prominent feature. What we did with the ice tunnel, because it was open to the air, is we just wrapped the tunnel design around. But here, since we have mostly netherrack, I didn't change anything, but I'm gonna try some ideas, because for the end tunnel and for the guardian farm, we have custom portals on the server, and so what they did was they just used a similar shape to like these the city skylines to make a custom portal, and I love that. I really do. But I'm wondering if there's a way we can do something on the back wall too, to just really make something stand out. So the reason why we're flying right back to where we just came from is because I wanted to show the last 2 tunnels for this week, and one of the reasons why we probably will be a little bit late with the episode, I want to include all of these so that we're all caught up. We need to design a template for the flower forest, or not a template, but like a gradient for the flower forest. I came up with one idea, but it's actually really similar to just the straight up magenta. I used different blocks, like I used amethyst and some other, like I had purple in it, I think, but it really comes across very similar to this. So, and it also had crying obsidian in it, which if you use crying obsidian up here at this top level, it messes with the light effect where we only have lights down low and then it kind of gradients darker. But if you put a light emitting block up there, that doesn't get as dark even. Like, it's not super dark to begin with. Anyway, I digress. Still need to patch this area up. It's still pretty dangerous over here. But this is the area out to the castle. So I want to make sure that we have a design for this. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to spend a few minutes in creative coming up with the plan for these 2 tunnels for as far as how we want them to look. And then I think I get one more really long dig session on my next upcoming stream. So yeah, lots of digging. This tunnel thankfully is mostly open in the, oh hello, that's a lot of ghasts. Okay, all right, Zelda doesn't like being an open exposed nether, but like most of this tunnel is open on the bottom half. It's the top half that we have to worry about. But I do have all of the top dug out and the black concrete put in. So it's just digging and figuring out the walls at this point. So I will be back, and we might be in creative so that I can show you guys the tunnels that we're gonna work on next. So I'm just gonna try and make myself safe. Spam the rockets! Spam the rockets! Okay. Okay, I didn't want to park myself somewhere where I wasn't safe. I feel much safer in the completed tunnels. I will be right back. And welcome back. I decided to go ahead and show a little bit of the behind the scenes kind of creative planning that I do for these tunnels. It seems totally, completely arbitrary or like maybe extra, because once the decision's made in the video, like it's just gonna be made, and you guys won't probably have any way to, you know, change my mind. But I thought that I could talk about maybe some of the reasonings and some of the ways that I've been deciding on this stuff. So let's start over here first, and I'll talk about the last tunnel that I tried for the flower forest. So when I was mentioning in the previous previous recording, I hadn't actually looked at it for a while, and I remember the 2 blocks that I specifically mentioned are 2 that I wanted to work in, but I didn't end up liking them because for the tunnels, our theme was neon modern, and so we really wanted to keep it clean and simple, and I decided actually both of those 2 were too busy of a texture when they are repeated for a long time. Like the twinkly bits on the amethyst and this crisscross pattern on the purple, I was like, ooh, those are both really, really heavily textured. Now, wool and concrete powder are both really equally, almost as heavily textured, but they're not super obvious when the pattern is repeating. It's more like stone, and especially I have a resource pack on that does variated textures, so it kind of mixes some of them up occasionally, so it's not super heavy-handed. So I did want to kind of quickly address that no, those were never in the consideration. But what I was looking at was this palette here. And when I had it laid out like this, it's, a pretty decent pattern. Now, when I took it over, so I could bear with me. Oh, also, I got to turn off my schematics. This is my creative testing world. This is most of the stuff that I've been working on for Hourglass. And yeah, I know not everybody's a big fan of creative, but I feel like, especially on big projects like this, it helps to be able to visualize a bigger project. And then also, because I am using schematic or Lightmatica mod, then it allows other people on the server to help contribute as well. So what I noticed when I brought this tunnel over and created that palette, this is what I was talking about with the light. It ruins kind of the effect of the darkness. So for over here, you can kind of see, like, in there, if I didn't have Optifine Zoom, you would start to lose the difference between the wool blocks and the black concrete. Like, they just turn into black sky above you. Now, in here, it lights up the glass, and it's very obvious that there's a ceiling and then a different block on the walls. So I really didn't like the crying obsidian, and I had completely forgotten that until I tested it out. And then also, it looks very similar. When you look down the line, it looks like that. And that's actually our main, one of the main cardinal directions. So I think when I showed, like, I took a screenshot of this wall and I said, hey guys, what do you think of this in the Discord for the server members? And yeah, I got kind of knocked. They pointed out exactly the problems that I just pointed out to you, and I was like, yeah, you guys are super right. So what I did is I kind of went back to the drawing board. So now we'll go back to the drawing board. This is actually just a place that I have in my world that is for all of the blocks. I think I have all the blocks laid out. I tried to have all the blocks laid out so that I can look at them and kind of get ideas. So I spend a lot of time just staring at this view in my creative world. I don't know necessarily that it's, the most effective way, but I find it a lot easier to navigate than trying to figure out where blocks are in here. So yes, I do have this all laid out. And so what I did was I took the palettes and brought them over here. Now, all of these are just palettes that I did kind of in my spare time, just for fun to try. I wanted to test different ideas about now, when we see gradients, when I find them online, most of the gradients that I find are like all one color. So like this red one here is a really good example. Those blocks there are mostly red blocks, like with the exception of this one, which is pink. That's red terracotta, that's concrete, that's carpet, and that's just a very red block. So most of the gradients I see do stuff like this, or like this brown one here, where they use all the same color. But what I was trying to do was change from one color to another as much as possible. So like here, I changed from turquoise to green. And there I changed from cream white to green, going through a little bit of yellow. And this one here is my favorite. I think if I did like any kind of circle with it, it would loop back around. Because like these blocks on this end, the copper blocks, can play off this side. So like I could just keep going, and like it could just like fade in and out of like the copper and gray colors. So I think a lot of the newer blocks, so like all of these blocks were introduced in the last update. So I think a lot of the blocks that come out per update work really well together. So I'm trying to find ways to incorporate them like with other blocks to in my mind. So I played with that a little bit, got some of the terracottas in there, but I know with 119 coming out, we're gonna have mangrove wood and mud, and I am so looking forward to it. But our server is not updating to 119 yet, so I am still working with the other blocks. So what I've got here, and I've shown these to the Discord for the server to kind of discuss if these could be options for those 2 tunnels that we still have left to do. So obviously the ones on the left are kind of ideas for the castle tunnel, and the ones on the right are for the flower forest. So for the flower forest, I really tried to make it look like maybe a flower was growing, so I started with green on the bottom to represent the grass, but I can't use actual grass because if I didn't have my texture pack on with the grass side blocks, the grass ends there, and that would look really bad. And then if you put another block on top, it doesn't stay grass. So we can't use actual grass, so that's why I was using moss or lime terracotta. And then I wanted it to make it look like the flowers come up out of there, but I couldn't really think of a good way to do that. So it mostly just looks like a rainbow. So I'm not sure what this is going to look like bigger, but I think these ones, either of these will look really good for the castle. I'm just really stuck on the flower one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with this a little bit more and then get a final verdict from the Discord, from the other server members. If anybody has better suggestions to how to make it look really colorful, because like stuff like this I can't use because coral will die. Not right now, obviously. It just wants to make a liar out of me there. But it'll die in the nether because we can't use water or waterlogged blocks. And so a lot of the really vibrant color choices we have, and like this one, I could use that to make it look like stems, but this in a repeating pattern goes back to the idea of that really busy texture. And so I don't know, I'm stuck. I'm stumped. So that's why I wanted to bring back and give you an update of why these like seemingly, easy decisions, like it's a really big tunnel with a repeating pattern, but it's taking me a while because I want each one of them to be a little bit more dynamic than the others. Like I don't want them all to blend together because I want it to be very distinct when you're going through whichever tunnel you're going through. So got some decisions to make, and then we'll be back for the grind. Just like that, we're done. It was like magic. I just threw the glass down and then it just like went all up on the walls, right? That's probably not exactly what happened. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's not what happened. This was a couple more hours, and I've got to say, I'm totally digging it. The tunnels are all really enclosed, or safely enclosed, and I think they're all completed. Now, this is probably the most hours that have gone into a single video for me, and I'm betting that at this point it almost feels like that I wasn't going to put out another episode from Hourglass because I think it's been almost 3 weeks. So I apologize. I know I was trying really hard not to say sorry for this delay, but man, every time I thought I was done, I was like, no, I can do one more. And I was just super focused on all these tunnels. The other thing I wanted to do I wanted to turn on the shaders. I'm still using complementary shaders. I've heard there's another version out there. I've got to go look for it because it looked really interesting. I saw a preview on Twitter, I think. But I didn't want that transition to look really weird and have shaders on, so now we gotta wait for it. There we go. But this is one of my favorite things to do, is to fly through these tunnels now with shaders, because of the reflection off all of the glass, and the concrete as well is considered a shiny block in this pack. And the glass gives like a little bit of a warp effect for these, for the like runway lights, I'll call it. So the areas that you fly through in the tunnel also have different atmospheres. So in this tunnel, for example, we go through nether wastes at this end, and the nether waste kind of gives like a reddish fog. But in the basalt delta, that's the first part of this tunnel, you'll see it's more of a gray kind of cast. So in this area, the gray tones of the tunnel pop out a lot more. So I think we're gonna have to call it there. I don't even know. I don't even know what else there needs to be done on the server. Ouch, because I have been in the nether for weeks on end, working on completing all of these big areas. Also, ooh, I do not have very many rockets left. And so I think what I will do is we'll leave off just, you know, flying down the tunnel and say have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week ahead. And thank you all for your patience and continuing to come and support the channel. It really does mean a lot that you guys are interested in seeing all of these projects. Bye!